Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be covering Coinbase. This company is an exchange for cryptocurrencies. So if you want to buy your crypto, you can go to Coinbase, have an account, and buy your Bitcoin, your Ether coins as well. It's really been performing well in 2023, and they just announced their earnings on November 2nd. So I have a fresh set of financials to take a look at and see where the company's headed. This is an exciting company, but it is a risky endeavor. It's not an investment for everyone. Some people understand and believe the cryptocurrency industry. Some people don't. And I would encourage you never to invest in an investment that you don't understand. My videos are just for educational purposes only. I'm an investor in Coinbase. I do believe that digital currencies will be part of the future, at least, if not a significant part of the future. So therefore, I'm really a learner when it comes to cryptocurrencies. I'm a small investor in Coinbase, but really think this company has the potential to be really valuable in the future. I'd like to show you my process is how I evaluate Coinbase and what I'm going to do with the stock, whether I'm going to buy, hold, or sell. Do me a favor and like my video and consider subscribing to my channel if you like content like this. And please leave a comment. Love to hear what you think about Coinbase. Now let's get into my process. I've created a process for myself to evaluate stocks consistently, and it involves 4 questions followed by a decision to buy, hold, or sell. And the first question is, do I want to be part owner in Coinbase, and do I like the industry? Second question, do I think the management team is operating the company well? Third is debt less than 3 times EBITDA, therefore making the balance sheet a really good, healthy balance sheet. And last, am I getting a discount on the stock? Then I can buy a stock that's discounted and see my investment go up over time. And based on the answers to those questions, I'll buy, hold, or sell. So we're on the 3rd generation of the internet. They refer to it as Web3, and it's early days for Web3. But when you look at artificial intelligence and all these new experiences that we can have online, you can really see that we're really getting deep into that cyberspace, which is really fascinating. I think the future is going to require a cryptocurrency. It's going to require a digital currency that can really line up from a technical perspective with the new internet and new experiences that people are going to want to have. Therefore, I think the story is good on Coinbase. I think they're leading a revolution of investors that want to have currencies in their portfolios, or they may need currencies to transact. And we'll see where it ends up. I could just say that I think it has a future, and a lot of unknowns are in that future, but it's pretty exciting. Something that's happened over the last year is Bitcoin is up more than 121%. I own Bitcoin and I also own Ether. Both have done really well. It's just a way to diversify. It's not a big position that I have in Bitcoin nor Coinbase, but it's good to see that this, Bitcoin has really gone up. So on November 2nd, Coinbase announced their earnings and they put out a new set of financials. So I wanted to go through it. Starting with the balance sheet, their cash balance is really high. They have a high amount of cash on their balance sheet, and it actually is more than their long-term debt. So they have more cash on the balance sheet than long-term debt. So they can pay all their debts off if they wanted to. Looking at the income statement, for the last 3 months, revenue has picked up. If you compare the 3rd quarter of 23 compared to the 3rd quarter of 2022, year to date, they've kind of fallen behind the rate that they were at last year. But it's good to see in the quarter, they've really improved their revenue. What's also really encouraging is they just had a slight loss. If you look at the earnings per share, just a slight loss on the bottom line in the 3rd quarter. So Coinbase is a young company. It's a growth company. If they can get to profitability this early in their history, that'd be really interesting. And I think it'll lead to a big rally. The statement of cash flows is really interesting for Coinbase, a young company that generates $928 million of free cash from its operations. That's really impressive. And it's the type of business that doesn't require a whole lot of capital. So almost all the cash generated from operations is free cash flow. And that's what I use to value Coinbase. It's based on free cash flow that the company generates, and I'll use that in my valuation. So I believe that Coinbase is fairly priced at this time. It really is being sold at about a 2% discount, which isn't much of a discount at all. It's a rounding error. And what I mean is that based on the free cash flows that the company is going to produce, the stock is worth about $94.52. But currently, the stock market selling shares at $92.92. So it's fairly priced. It's being based on free cash flows, and they're really doing well with free cash flows. I think they're going to grow those cash flows quite dynamically by about 15% the next 4 years. But it's a young company. A lot of things could be surprises to the downside. So I don't really put a lot of money into Coinbase, and I don't really have high growth rates. 15% I think is reasonable, and then long term at 4%. The long term is going to drive this bucket, which is the terminal value of all cash flows beyond year 4. I also use a high weighted average cost of capital since it is a young company in a new industry. And I get to the intrinsic value of 19.7 billion. I add the cash, but I take away debt to get to an equity value of 21.8 billion. And based on those figures, I get a stock price of $94.52 compared to where you can buy shares, which is roughly at $93. So it's a fairly priced stock. Coinbase is doing great year to date. It's up 176% year to date. So you would have more than doubled your money if you had bought shares at the very beginning of the year, which is really impressive. Again, I think the stock is fairly priced. There's not a lot of room for a discount, nor are they being sold at a premium. And it's definitely a stock that really moved. I really like the upward trajectory. And although there's been some downward corrections, it really has had a nice upward trend. We're seeing a nice upward trend based on that Bitcoin rally and the Ether rally. I think more investments coming into this space. A lot of institutional investors are getting into Coinbase. In fact, shares are being held, 55% of shares are being held by institutional investors, smart people like at Vanguard, Sumitomo Bank. These are some pretty impressive institutional investors that have bought into Coinbase. So that's another factor that makes me believe that, hey, I'm not the only one that thinks that, cryptocurrencies and digital currencies have a future. Some pretty bright hedge funds and institutional investors are also bought into Coinbase. So should I buy more shares or sell my shares in Coinbase? Let's take a look at my scorecard and make that decision. So first, do I want to be part owner in Coinbase, and do I like the industry? Yes. I think it's super interesting. I think it has a future. I think the company, the management team is excellent. Debt is really, they don't have any debt if you compare it to their cash position, but there's no discount on the stock, which is kind of a showstopper for me. So I'm going to be holding my shares and looking to see what happens with the company. They may start growing faster, which would change their valuation. The stock may begin to drop and provide a better discount, or some negative things can come up about the company I'd have to sell. But for now, I'm going to hold my shares and not buy any additional shares. So that's my video on Coinbase. I hope you found it interesting and discovered something new about Coinbase. Do me a big favor and like my video and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. And please leave a comment on Coinbase. I'd love to hear what you think about Coinbase, what you think about the cryptocurrency industry. Thanks for watching and good luck investing.